Okay. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are watching us. Today, we have with us Pedro Fernandez, and he's going to present a very interesting subject, self-relay. And the question is, what are we doing about it? So let me introduce Pedro Fernandez for you. Pedro is Brazilian, born in Brasilia, right, the capital. Is a physician, a radiologist, and a conscientiologist. He's consensual inversion technique practitioner, and he has been a conscientiology volunteer since 1991. He's also a conscientiology instructor. He's been a conscientiology instructor since 1996, a Penta practitioner since 2002, and an epicenter since 2005. He is a co-organizer of the book Homo Lexicographus, which you probably see behind him there. This is a book that was launched in 2017. He's also the author of the treatise Seriexology, also there, which is a book launched in 2021, last year, and is equally the author of over 100 verbets or entries for the Encyclopedia of Conscientiology. So currently, Pedro carries out research in seriexology, mental somatology, lexicology, and deportology, so all specialties of conscientiology. And he's a founding member and has volunteered in the CI Consecutivos since 2014, right from the start. So, Pedro, it's all yours. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Liliana. Hello, everyone. Good day to you all, as Australians would say, right? It is a pleasure to be here with you today and talk a little about my experience on this subject, right? I also would like to thank Liliana a lot and the whole team, Isaac team, for all the help and the patience in preparing the presentation. So thanks a lot. I will share my slides.
So good.
So
Yep.
we are going to talk about consensual self-relay. What are we doing about? I mean, what strategies are we adopting in order to be successful in it, right? And this presentation is like an attempt to foresee how things will happen, or at least can happen in our next life. So hopefully I will be able to motivate you guys to be even more involved with this theme on self-relay, and in a sense prepare next life without forgetting our current one, of course. And before we start, let me tell you to please feel free to interrupt me whenever you want, to comment or ask something, okay? You don't need to wait me to finish the presentation. Also, I would like to say that, as you can tell, English is not my first language. I have learned it a long time ago when I was a teenager, and I haven't been practicing so much, so I'm very rusty. So let's go on. And before we get started, really actually get started, I would like to remember the principle of disbelief. So don't believe anything you hear today, be alert and try to experiment with these ideas, right? Instead of just accepting it, the information with no criticism. I think the most important thing is you to have your own conclusions and see if this makes sense to you, right? And what were the reasons that made me choose this theme? When Liliana invited me, I tried to find a subject that allowed me combine the matter theme of writing, since we are here in bridge writers, right? With a theme from my specialty, there is sexology. So I had this idea of discussing about multi-existential self-relay, right? And I know that here among us in the ICCC, self-relay is already quite well known and discussed. But in my experience, I think that there are still many doubts about how to put it in practice, right? For instance, many people have doubts and come to me and ask me, how can we put this principle, this technique in practice? Because they consider it this matter very like a transcendent matter and far from their current life, right? So they usually come to me and ask questions like this. Is it really possible to leave data for ourselves in next life? How can we be so sure of that? And how is this going to happen? And I think this is important questions because they help us to improve our chances, right? And this reminds me a question, Dr. Valdo's question, there is in Consensual, where he says, he asks us, what is the scope of our awareness regarding your self-relays, our self-relays, linking this human life with the next? So I think the most important part here is this scope of our awareness, right? Because when we seek to go into the details concerning this technique, we are actually expanding the scope of our lucidity, right? And I also think that when we realize that there are many details involved in self-relay besides just writing books, I think our chances increase a lot of being successful in doing this technique. So with that in mind, I try to make a more practical presentation based on my case, okay? In this sense, later on, I will talk about some strategies in order to optimize it. So let's see on formal definition, what is self-relay that we are talking about. Dr. Vieira says that consensual self-relay is an advanced condition in which the consciousness evolves by securing one intraphysical existence to another consecutively, like links in a chain within their multi-existential multi-existential cycle. So as we can see, this is a quite challenging technique, right? And when I think about it, I don't know about you, but for instance, if I ask you what comes to your mind when you think about self-relay, I don't know, but I think that most of you will think about something like book or writing books or just writing, isn't it? And I agree with that. Obviously, I agree that book is the essential part of the technique, right? But I'm not so sure if it will alone be able to solve our problem in our next life. I don't think so. And why not? Because we know how difficult it is for us today, for instance, to get a book, a notebook, or a book from Holoteca, and know if we were the ones who wrote it, right? Because it demands a lot of parapsychism, a lot of another phenomena. And I know that writing books is the essential part, but it's not the only one, right? So when I was preparing this class, I reflected on my own trajectory in life until I discovered this theme in a practical perspective. And I started to reflect on, for instance, I was interested to know what were the underlying reasons that made it possible to me to recover works written in another life. I think this helped me to make this topic more accessible. And having said this, I would like to share with you some experiences that I've had and how gradually self-relay became parts of my existential reality since I was 34 years old. Now I am 47. And my intention here is then share with you these experiences. And because of that, I divide this presentation in two parts. The first one is this practical approach when I'm going to tell you about these experiences. And later I will summarize it in seven essential points, right? And then I will bring some theoretical approaches and discuss about 21 strategies in order to improve our chances, right? So let's begin with this practical approach. So when I was very young, about 5 to 11 years old, I start to experience this, what we call today, what we know today, that is projective catalepsy. So I would wake up in the middle of the night and I couldn't move my physical body. It was very, very scary. It was kind of a sleep paralysis, right? And this truly scared me a lot, to the point that I feared falling asleep again. So it was very, very remarkable, you know, in a sense. Later on, I start to having these semi-lucid projections, a lot of them, like lucid dreams. And one of them that was very, very remarkable, it's the one that during which I would see myself as an adult man, and I was talking with other men and women that I knew about some serious matters. But when I woke up, I, I, I couldn't remember the content, but the experience was very real to me. And this really got me because I couldn't forget it. And I used to ask my mother and my father about it, and they usually say to me, oh, this is a bad dream, or this is a nightmare, or something like this. But it was really strange because I was a child, and then I used to see myself as an adult talking with other adult persons. So I didn't understand that. And another important experiences that I used to have, it's about clairaudience. As many times I would hear like suggestions or even some kind of instructions, as this man's voice echoed in my mind. And generally the voice was from this man, this serious man. And one quite remarkable occasion, exactly when I was in this catalepsy state, I heard a man say imperatively to me, get up and turn on the TV set. Like, just do it right now. And I was really scared, but I did it. And it was really amazing because at that exact moment, in the middle of the night, at dawn, there was this episode of this program, Replay, believe it or not, that here in Brazil we call Acredite se quiser. It was being shown, and in it, a young man was saying that he was able to leave his body, walk through the wall, and see the numbers that had been placed in the next room near the ceiling or the roof. And indeed, he did it. He was able to correctly speak these numbers that was placed there. And this experience was significant to me because it enabled me to begin to understand what was going on to me, what was happening. And I only really realized it in the whole contest when I first had my lucid projection entirely. This started in 1986, and I remember that because I had just moved into a new flat with my family, and since then I started experiencing lucid takeoffs of my psychosoma, and extraphysical experiences start to diversify. And later on, about 5 years later, 1991, this really intensified. And this was in the time that I met Dr. Vieira, as we are going to see. And it's interesting because in this occasion, I had a colleague from my school that lent me some books about this matter, including Dr. Valdo's Vieira Projections of Consciousness. And this really helped me better understand what was happening to me. So this kind of experiences really helped me to think about multidimensionality, multi-existentiality in some way. And this is okay, this is quite interesting, but what is the connection? How can we connect these experiences to self-relay, right? Because at first glance, apparently they don't have any direct connection, right? But if we look closer, I think that they belong to a same context. So let me explain this better using these topics. The first of all, parapsychic phenomena and memory. I think that this kind of a phenomena, and obviously others, they have the ability to stay in our memory, and they leave us intrigued about multidimensional reality, right? Besides this, its content, this kind of parapsychism, this kind of parapsychic phenomena help us to ask some questions about life and about spirituality and things like that, right? In other words, I think that parapsychic phenomena play a role beyond the content they convey. So they are like memory disruptors. I don't know if I can talk like that, but it's how I think. Another important connection that I think it's important, it's the intermissive period. So the preparation that we have done before we resonate. So why I think like this? Because when the conclusions that I've got when I analyze these kind of experiences is that they reflect work done previously, right? Previously being reborn. So these phenomena reflect this practice that we used to do before we being reborn. And also, it's important to try to unite or try to link this parapsychic phenomena with the intermissive memories. So I think this is important for us if we are interested in self-relay and recover the memories. I think the parapsychic phenomena is one of the keys of this technique, right? Another important key is, of course, helpers, the assistance from them, because their participation in memorable circumstances is difficult to forget, right? When we, for instance, when we experience an authentic parapsychic phenomena that has the participation of a conscious, it's very, very impactful, and it's hence difficult to forget. So what can we conclude of it? I think that this kind of matter, like multidimensionality and multi-existentiality, only became real to us gradually, right? And they are very much based on our own experience, our personal experiences. So
can I add something, Pedro? So
yes,
the
you can,
thing,
please.
what you are discussing is extremely relevant because we all have some experiences from the past for sure, but that's the thing. We probably didn't sometimes, stop to connect the dots to make, to understand this is linked with that and it's linked with that and it links with a lot more stuff that happened before. And this is so good that you are calling our attention to that, to make this, to remind us of doing this job to better understand even our current self-relay.
Yes, yes, because sometimes we look only to the parapsychic phenomena that we experience. But I think it's important, like you said, to connect the dots and think in a broader view, like what else it's the message of this phenomena, right? So I think it's important when we think about self-relay, this is very, very important. Okay, so I think that in our next life, all going according to plan, we surely will be supported by a team of helpers that will help us to remember what we need to know from our new projects, right? We have to count on this. But I also know that nothing guarantees it because there are many forces competing to take the intermissivists like off track, right? So the more multidimensional safeguards we have, the better. Yeah. So thinking of it, because of that, I think that writing book it's not the only way that we are going to be successful in self-relay, right? So let me share with you another experiences that helped me to get prepared to it. In 1991, I participated in this Brazilian Congress of Projectiology, right? It was held in Brasilia. And this time was when I had my first contact, when I met Dr. Valdo Vieira for the first time. And what seized my attention was his serious and self-confident posture, at one time laid back and joyful about any topic, I mean, his good humor and ability to talk about various subjects like, sexuality and how to do better in this life and helping others, and the scientific approach to the paraphenomena. This impressed me a lot. And at the same time, during this Congress, I was a bit intrigued because I started feeling this extra-physical presence of this man together with me during basically the whole Congress. And I start to get alert. And I already knew his energies as he would sometimes show up when I was in potentially danger situations or critical situations. For instance, if I was in a party with my friends or at night out and somebody would suggest us to go another place and let's do something else, and I start to feel this presence near with me, and he would make his presence noticed, né? And I knew it was not for me to go because I don't know why, the reasons, but I knew that I couldn't go with them. So this helped me a lot, not only to prevent this kind of situations, but for me to better understand this kind of a communication with extra-physical consciousness. But this happened at times. It was not so common. I didn't have a lot of contact with this man, but during the Congress, he made himself noticeable in a very frequent condition, right? So I interpreted this as being important to take all of that seriously, right? So I was already enjoying what I was seeing, and after this para-perception, it got even deeper. So what made me start volunteering, it was this kind of experiences, and mainly the scientificity used in the approach of the OBE theme that I had already experiencing on it, right? And mainly the idea behind the principle of disbelief. This was really, really important to me. So this Congress, what I trying to say is that this was my moment of reunion with the group, right? When I met Dr. Vieira, the IIP team, and the ideas that I would be developing this life, it was really, really important to me. And this reminds me another experience that I used to have. It's a recurring experience that I used to have those days. And in this experience, I was with 3 people, like saying goodbye to them. I was standing in some place that its atmosphere it's of great sobriety and respect. And at some point, I saw myself looking down, reflecting on something really, really with an immense responsibility that I was feeling. And after a while, I raised my head, looked to them and say to them, look, I only need your help to find the group. Then it will up to me, okay, I need this help. I remembered this. And then when I participated on this Congress, this experience make sense to me. I realized the meaning, the real meaning of it, right? Because before that, for a long time, I thought that this group was related to my profession. what I would need to develop to become. And it was only when I met them that I realized the depth of these experiences, right?
It was not about
Another,
the profession. This is the group.
yes, it's really interesting because
Yeah.
before that I asked my mother and my father about profession, about my aunt's profession. She is a diplomat, and I start thinking about being a diplomat because of the languages and the travels and things like that. But later on, I realized the real meaning. So I want to talk a little about the clairvoyance too, because after becoming a volunteer, the group become bigger gradually, right? And we formed this group called Groupecon, Group of Consciousness Research. So the volunteers would get together weekly in order to work with the energies in a similar way to what happens today in dynamics that we have in some cities and here in Foz, right? In the occasion, we would meet on Wednesdays evening, and there was a number of energetic exercise we would do. And I am talking about this specific moment because it was from then on that my clairvoyance started to function. It became easier to me to have clairvoyance. And this helper that I was telling you about used to accompany me. It was only then that I had a better notion about this helper and how he looked like. For instance, he used to wear smart dark clothes, had a full dark beard, a small face, and a body that reminds me a lot of Allan Kardec's body. Is not the same person, okay? The face, it's very different, but the body, it's what we call the picnic body, like, like biotype. So it was important to me because this helper accompanied me a lot during many years until I moved to Foz do Iguaçu. Another important step that I had in this moment occurred in 1996, this retrocognitive projection. And it is interesting because until then, I had shown no interest in researching past lives or even intermissive period, nothing like this. But when I started giving conscientiology classes, I became a teacher, and then I developed this increasing interest in knowing more about this kind of matter, mainly the intermissive course. And in 1996, I had an experience during which I left the body with lucidity, and I remember that I checked it out. I checked if there was anyone waiting to me in the dimension, in the extraphysical dimension, and was not the case. There was nobody there because it was very common. And then I started to evoke this idea of intermissive course. It was very interesting because just after that, no long after, this fair lady showed up to me and led me hovering to an extraphysical environment where I could reveal some memories during this period, right before Resomate. For instance, in one of those experiences, I was during this period precisely training to be able to leave the physical body with lucidity, learning how to hover above and how to go through walls, and mainly learning how to memorize the specific sensations of takeoff. All of this for often being reborn, right? So I remember that there was this a friend of mine with me there, this colleague from my medicine course. It was very, very a relevant experience. And this lady in the sequence, she showed me a scene in which a middle-aged man was writing at a table against a wall with several books around him. And when I focused on his features, I knew that it was me in a past life writing. So this kind of experience, how can I say, they brought me a good deal of confidence as I saw it, how it was possible to receive help, to know more about my extraphysical and heterobiographical roots, right? So it was very important to me because I think if I needed to know, I will receive help. So what is the synthesis of this kind of experience and the connection with self-relate? First of all, I think the affinity with the group, or the role played by the group in context of self-relate, it's fundamental. For instance, when I met Dr. Vieira and when I met the IIP team, it was a really mark on my pro-axis, right? And I think it's the same for you. And after many years that after many years, I could recover this kind of information about my past. So I think that information about our past and pro-axis generally only comes back to us, you know, like piecemeal within a functional context. That's what I mean. So I think next time in our next life, it will be quite the same, quite similar, right? So self-relate will not happen from a certain moment on. For instance, will not happen when we find our book and then all the memories will come and we are know what we need to know, what we need to do, and something like this. I think we have to build this kind of condition, right? So self-relay will get established from increasingly extraordinary moments that will act, you know, like synergistically to trigger it. So I think it's important to think about.
Maybe from an earlier age as well, right? Maybe we'll
Yes,
be able to start early if we get a bit more lucidity,
yes,
right?
yes. And I think it will happen like this because we are already lucid for this, and we are going to have another intermissive period that it's going to be much more, you know, how can I say, professional way. We are going to be more mature, and I think it will in a way work like that. So another point that I think it will be important, it's try to identify the helpers. So in these experiences, I noticed a great tendency for me to have the experiences with them, even if and when sporadic, such occurrences make me think that the performances of a specific lucid helper, if he or she wants, they can help us a lot in recovering information from our past, right? So I think this is one of the most important factors to trigger our memories. And of course, we have to do our homework and manage not to interfere with this received. We have to like interpret this in a correct way and things like that. So you need to get used to it, right? And another important point, it's the heteromemories themselves. Like I said, in this case, self-relay is already happening, right? As this is precisely the objective, you know, the recalling episodes from our past, even intermissive information or past life information. This is our goal, right? So if we invest on this kind of parapsychism related to memory, to hollow memory, to retrocognition, this is going to be to become easier to us, right? So when we recall these past episodes, I think they how can I say, they cause a very strong impact in our worldview, you know, as they connect with other subjacent memories and experiences that had not been assessed to a conscious level. So what I'm trying to say is that a memory that was recollected, that we recovered, plays another important role besides the content itself, right? And gradually this will helping us to better understand what's going on to us and about the intermissive course and things like that. So in order to finish this first part, let me show you how these and other experiences end up culminating in a better level of understanding about self-relay, right? It was in...
We have a hand up if Eliane wants to ask a question.
Please
go ahead, Eliane.
Okay, I will ask my question. Pedro, I was thinking here, what would be my next life praxis, and I suppose that I will be dealing with education. I will be a public person and deal with big groups. I think I will, for example, in this life.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's what I think that would be more to do more assistance. I suppose that I intend at least, for me, it makes sense to be a public person and work with big groups. And so I have to, because in this life, I had lots of difficulties in exposing myself and dealing with self-exposure and big groups. I always preferred to work on the backstage. And I think all the experience we are getting through Conscientiology is making me open up for this possibility.
Okay.
How do you see our group nowadays? Do you think that this would be a tendency, or I know it may vary, but in general, do you think we end up being more, we will be leaders and more public person, more infiltration?
Yes, I think so. And I think that we are not going to live together, all the whole group. And this is important because this our responsibility increases in order to recover this kind of information by ourselves, right? So when we, in this case, for instance, you are going to resonate in some country and going to be a leader, you will receive more attention, you will receive more help from helpers to help you to recover your memories in order to become, more confident and a parapsychic person, in order to count on this kind of condition, So I think you are right. I agree with you. We are going to be even more leaders. And I think that our parapsychism is going to increase a lot, not only because of all we are doing in this current life, but mainly because of our next intermissive period. So we are, I think
you
we are
are going
going
to offer many strategies as well for us to
Yes, I'm going
prepare
to
this
talk about this. I think it will become
more
clear.
clear.
Yeah, more
Okay,
clear.
Things that we
okay,
can.
Okay, I think
good,
this
thank you.
will get together. So, as I was saying, at the end of 2003, I moved from Brasilia to Foz. What really accelerated not only my experiences, but mainly my understanding of what is multi-existential continuism, right? As you know, life brought me closer to Dr. Vieira as my partner. Cristiane was already working with him. We were neighbors at CAEC campus, and I ended up giving him like medical assistance. And with this, he started asking me to carry out some intellectual work, such as research and listing of tests on themes that he was already researching. And there are many experiences that I could talk about, but I would like to share at this moment one which I consider to be fundamental in this whole context of self-relay, right? And I think that it was like the beginning of self-relay in my case. It occurred in April 2004. I was with my partner, Cristiane, in the holocycle at CAEC when Dr. Vieira called her and said, Chris, I'm looking for someone to work with the folders on jargons for cosmogram, of the cosmogram, in order to do a dictionary with it. Okay, so if you know of someone you can recommend, please let me know. And he also said, ideally, it's just one person. I don't need a full team. Don't worry with this. And this person can do this very slowly. I'm not in a hurry. And it was, very curious, because as he went on talking, I started feeling several energetic signals and energetic showers, and I was really, really impressed with this. And I then started feeling this urge to apply for the post. But my reality as a doctor that had just arrived in Foz with many shifts and volunteer work did not allow me to accept the post at that moment, right? But as we left the holocycle, I shared with Cristiane these feelings that I had, and my desire of to offer my service to this job opportunity, right? But she was very against my acceptance. because my limited availability of time and due to the seriousness with which Dr. Vieira always conducted his intellectual work. So she said, no way, forget about it. It's not for you. You cannot, things like this. And I said, oh, so sad. But at that night, I just couldn't sleep. I was really in a conflict. I felt I was really connected with this project, right? But at the same time, I knew that I didn't have much time. But I made my decision in the morning, and we go there. We went back to the holo cycle next day to check with him if I could take on the task, right? And it was very, very interesting also because after I asked him, he became really happy and he really liked it. And he even said that it was just like an early birthday present for him. And immediately he asked the files and clippings to be brought so I could start right away. And I thought it was too much, his reaction, but okay, I start working with it. And when I finished my first entry, I showed it to him and he saw it, he liked it. He made a bit suggestion about bibliography, about references, thanked me and said, you are a great lexicographer. And I said, what? It's just one page. It's just the beginning of this work. I didn't know how Valdo used to be, and I didn't understand that. It had never crossed my mind that sentences could have double meaning, No way. So time went by and our closeness and ease of being together increased. And at the same time, he started to talk more about our past in terms of ICCC, and he talked more about consecutive personality phenomenon in the ICC and other places. And this phenomenon is characterized by being able to recognize one's personal or someone else's personal past life. And this occurred until 2009, when he started giving me tips and feedbacks about my past. And during a dinner, he looked at me and mentioned the name Littré. And in the same moment, I received an energetic shower, another one, a big one. And I start to think about Littré. I knew Littré. I remember that I think about Alexis Littré. He was a French anatomist. But after researching a bit longer, I found the dictionarist, the lexicographer, Émile Littré. And I started noticing several synchronicities with me, until the day that Dr. Vieira started to comment on that the fact that I was his consecutive personality, Littré's consecutive personality. So I started to researching his works, and I found a small French book called How I Made My Dictionary. And I showed the English version of it to Dr. Vieira. And he asked me to translate it into Portuguese. So since then, we start work, and after several, impressive water shedding moments in this research, In 2016, we launched the translation under the title of Homo Lexicographus. So this was the history, the accounts that helped me to know more about my past, and this synthesis that I can do, it's I can summarize it in several essential points that we have already talked about. I think in terms of self-relay, we need to think about this relation, parapsychism and memory, right? Our preparation in intermissive period, like we said, the assistance from helpers, extraphysical helpers, the rediscover of our group. This is very important. We are going to talk about a little more further. Also, the intraphysical helpers, the whole of it. You know, in the next life, maybe we are going to have a teacher or a tutor or even a parent that will be this or will play this role of this intraphysical helper. And of course, consecutive personality and retrocognition and personal books. These two is the main ones, of course, because we are dealing with the memories themselves, right? So what I'm trying to say is that while self-relay is something rather difficult, these reports tend to show that with plenty of help and intra and extra-physical effort, we can recover information about our past lives and works that we wrote in the past. And mainly because of this life, this is a very important part of this whole contest, right? So here I finished my first part of this presentation, right? Then I will talk about some strategies.
I have a question.
Okay.
Are you writing the jargons dictionary thing? Are you doing right now?
Yes, very slowly. Yes, it is very, how can I say, I wrote it a lot, but then I slow it down with it, but now gradually I am writing again.
Now, yes. What do you think is the repercussion that is going to have this dictionary? What do you think is it is important for your self-relay, and why?
I think the most important thing that I realized when I wrote it, most part of it, it's the cosmovision that it gives to me, because in this dictionary I wrote about, I don't know, but about 5,000 jargons of many specific groups, and this helped me think a little different and you know, broaden my vision and think about prejudice and relation with our communication and our level of prejudice, you know, and in a way my level of fraternity and things like that, it became bigger, because when we think about how people communicate themselves, we know that express his or her culture, ideas, mentality, and it's an important way to know better how people functions. And this is the main you know, the main present that I had writing this book. And asking your not asking,
Sorry,
answering your questions. Sorry, answering your question. I think it will be important to make rapport, make connection with these groups, a lot of groups, different groups, and not only related to conscientiology, but outside conscientiology group.
Different Holothousians, you said.
Very different, very, very different Holodocines, yes. I mean, there are, I don't know if I can say that, like accents, regionalisms, like jargons, themselves, how can I say, gírias,
some of the things can be even idioms and things like that.
Idioms, yes,
specific,
things like that,
all
proverbs and
Yeah.
things like that. So
Proverbs.
it's very, very
big.
diversified, yes.
Well, let's
And
hear
I
the
think it will be
strategies,
important.
because there are
Yes.
many.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go back to that.
So to begin this part, I bring to you another definition. So consensual self-relay is the lucid act by which an intraphysical consciousness passes on and transmits evolutionary and priority information to him or herself, notably by writing clairaudientical books, right? Which could be recovered early next life, like Liliana was saying. So I think this definition is important because here we have this notably by writing clairaudientical books. So let's talk a little about this. When we, at least when I think about self-relay, I think that we can divide it in many ways, you know, classify it in many forms. I bring here three forms or three types of self-relay that we can think about. Self-relay, it's our responsibility in this case, not considering anything else, it's up to us. But also we can think about hetero-relay, right? When you take back the work of someone who is now in the extraphysical dimension, you know, we are in the same team, but now I am in the intraphysical life and he or she is in the extraphysical dimension, and I can continue his or her ideas that he or she wrote in the past. And also we can think about group relay, right? When more people are engaged in the same project, like we have here in case of Encyclopedia of Conscientiology. It's very, very interesting because this is it's a strong project, and this will help us to connect with this kind of information in our next lives. So thinking about strategies, I divide them in these four approaches: extra-consciential, intra-consciential, inter, and para-consciential, right? Let's begin with the extra-consciential. So the first strategy that I think it's very important, it's to write in different formats, size and conditions, you know, publish it, you know, not only personal books, that it's the main one, but group books with 2 or more people, right? Write articles, verbets, and so on. And besides that, I think we need to record videos, right? Because of the cinematic capsules of time. And minding not just the contents and the ideas expressed there, but also the way in which to present them, showing actually how the person is and works, I mean, his or her behavior. We're going to talk a little about this also. So the main strategy here is this idea, the more diversified the investment, the greater the chances of success, right? So besides that, I think that translation help, encourage, or even sponsor the translation of our personal tests into other languages. It's obvious we don't know where we are going to live, we're going to resonate, so we need to increase the chances that we are going to find the test, right? Polyglotism, give classes in other languages and make them available on the internet, as we are doing right now, right?
Yes, we have to continue doing this. It's very good practice for now and for the future.
Let's see it. So another strategy, extra-conscientious strategy, I think it's important to write on themes that we have a lot of affinity with, because it will call our attention in our next life. So this is an important strategy. Another one, it's we need to find our own style, mainly on our own writing style, because this will help us when we need to, for instance, find ourselves within a larger group. So if we know how the specificities of our writing, it will be very important. Another point is writing a book that is autobiographical, right? So you can leave a synthesis of your life and yourself, all that was the most relevant and would you like to recover in your next life. You can do this just right now, or even wait until the end of the life, near the end of the life. But it's important to think about it. What are the main information that I want to write and to recover in next life? Another extra-conscientious strategies that is related, right? Remember to include personal didactic hooks in the class you record or on tertulias you conduct and the test you write. So these hooks can trigger your memory in future life because of the emotion in it, because it's so personal. This will help a lot. Temperament, in the same way, I think it's important to register your way of being, how you express yourself during your recorded classes and tertulias. As we are going to say, it's important to review these videos in order to get used to it, in order to sensitize your memory and things like that, right? And specialty. Deepen your research and writings under a specific specialty with the goal of not just leaving the information, but also fixating your own memories with the specific subject matter. As we said, this will help us to trigger our memory next life, right? Because it will call our attention. So now let's going to talk a little about intra-conscientious strategies. What can we do within ourselves? It's about our memory, our hollow memory. I like a lot of this. Future retrocognition is a technique to prepare a priority memory to recover next life. So you need to choose a specific place where you generally go that is important to you, or a task that you do regularly, and then start to notice all the minimal details, the surroundings, your behavior, the field of energy, so you can memorize it. with the objective of preparing these mnemonic triggers in your next life. So if you meet this place or this test or whenever you want again, it will, function as a trigger for you. At the same way, detailed self-research, having an honest interest in self-knowledge and connecting the dots of our self-manifestation to better understand our personal modus operandi and our mentality. It is important because when we see it again, I think it will help a lot in terms of retrocognition, right? It's important to fixate mentally our mega strong trait, our material theme, our hetero password, because this in somehow, some way, it will play this role of a trigger memory hole. Another intra-consciential strategies, I think it's important to having the habit of reviewing our recorded classes, as I was saying, and registering the details of our personal manifestation, like holosomatic arguments, facies, themes, clauses, and all that we can do in order to fixate this in our memory, right? And as I told you before, parapsychic memories, I think it's important to value, to record, and reflect on our parapsychic memories, because this prepares our brain and para-brain for similar situation in our next life, right? Now let's talk a little about some inter-consciential strategies. Heterolocation, this is what I am trying to do with my friends and people around me. So it's when we will try to seriexologically locate people close to you in order to enhance your memory and the chance to recognize this person, not only in this life, but also in the next one. And because we are getting used to it, right? We are having the habit of doing it. So maybe in the next life we are going to do the same. I know this is not easy, but I'm saying that the try itself, the thought of it, the think about it. Also, I think it's important to deepening the seriexological intersection with your partner in the evolutionary do, because this will impregnate our memory with this information, right? And it will be easier for us to recognize this person in the future, right? If we go deeper on this kind of research, I think it will help a lot. Another two, there is related, helper conscience and helper conscience. I think, as I said, we have to count on the support of this kind of consciousness. Helper consciousness and intraphysical consciousness. And of course, we need some level of parapsychism and have some level of assistential merit. But I think it's important to think of it and to, become more open to this kind of assistance, right? And to finish, let's see some paraconsciential retrocognitive techniques. I think it's important to try it out, because this often creates the habit of assessing the whole memory and get us used to knowing how to deal with old memories is not an easy condition, right? Because of the emotions, because of the reality that we assess. But if we try this out in this life, I think we're getting used to it, and the chances of success increases a lot. And the same way, lucid projections, we need to get used to this, because it allows us to go through the same in future lives and not to be scared of it. Like I told you, when I was a child, intermissive course, assessing this kind of memories is the most effective form of self-relay, in my opinion, because we go back to the source of our projects. This is the main goal, right? And another one, an advanced one, try to interview the group's evolutionary leader in order to increase the overall vision and know about the priority to be done. And we can try to do this right now and try to know where we are going to live, for instance, or maybe some kind of tips about it. I think it's important to try, and I know it's not an easy condition, but it's important to think about. So let's get some conclusions about self-relay. I know that writing a book is the most precious technique because it's a guarantee, it's a golden rule, but I think that self-relay depends on other several factors besides just writing a book, right? We have to do all together. And actually, all the conscientiological principles and techniques are already helping us to be successful, but we need maybe qualify it further. Today we are much likely to perform it, like I said, successfully, but it still demands a lot of effort and lucidity and get the dots, together to link it. And the good news is that we can try this just right now, right? We can try to link this current life with our past ones. As you maybe will know, the Consecutivos works a lot on this. And I think the most important thing it's getting used to the parapsychism related to hollow memory, not only to get the information about ourselves and about our group, but also, as I said, to get used to it, because maybe in another life, we are not going to live all together and have access to and find the information very much easier. But if we have this ability, if we have this parapsychism, maybe things will become easier for us to recover information and continue our evolution. So I would like to thank you a lot, your patience, your time, and I think we have some
a few minutes. Yes,
a few
yes.
minutes.
So
Yes.
for question, I was just it just came to mind that sometimes our lack of lucidity is because we are not paying attention to the things that are happening, just not paying enough attention probably. And I could, if I can make a kind of a metaphor or something, but it reminds me that when I moved from Portugal to the UK, where I stayed for 14 years, the fact that I moved country and moved culture and moved everything, changed everything, allowed me for a perspective that about myself and my country and my, a number of things about me and my surroundings and family and people, friends and all that, allowed me for a level of perspective that I would probably have never gained if I never moved country. That's one of the things. And then moving here and and doing many courses with Consecutivos, that allowed me yet another level of perspective far deeper, because now I can understand a lot more. I think it helps us a lot to understand all the whys of who you are, where you got this from and where did you get this from and how you can work with this, and kind of everything starts making a lot more sense, because now we are focused, right? We are putting
Yeah.
the energy there. And so one of the gains that I had, as many of us for sure, sometimes it's not full retrocognitions, but you have retrocognitive flashes. You have
Yes.
information that helpers bring you about many different centuries. And then, okay,
Yes.
old bird on the planet, that's, a lot to study, but, you get a lot of information, a lot out of it. And that obviously helps you to put your self-relay in practice now and prepare the future one, right? It's a different story.
Yes. Yes. In general, memories are subtle sometimes, and we need to connect them to better understand its meaning. Is like you said, sometimes we need to move to another country or get another perspective, point of view, in order to
It's
better
like a zoom
understand.
out, right? You get a way to
Yes.
better understand the
Yes.
thing,
Yes. It's
everything
like
that
a
is
paradox.
happening.
Yes.
Yeah, it is a bit of a paradox, but yeah, it brings a lot
Yes.
of information. And connecting the dots, because we do forget to many times to connect the dots.
Yes. And as you said, we have already have a lot of information about ourselves and about our past, but sometimes we don't know how to link this information
Exactly.
and to think about the roots of it, right? The past of it.
Yeah.
And in Consecutivos, as you said, we try to make these things and help people to better understand this information, why this happened in your life, and what's the reasons that you are like that, and you have this kind of way of being and things like that. So
Yeah.
we need
So
support to do this kind of research, right?
also this program that Consecutivos has, that is it Chronos? I'm not sure. Right.
Kronos, yes.
The one that has this, you can go deeper into the things that, as you said, that it's important for us to recover our retro password. It's like,
Yes.
where's the key to open the door? Let's get it.
Yes. Yes.
Let's remember it.
That's it.
Your mega strong trait, your mega weak trait, your temperament, your all those things, your matethosine, that are that these are encoded information that we left from our intermissive period, and we are not accessing it. Many people are
Yes.
not yet accessing this information, right? And it's kind of, how can you do the best of your current proaxis if you are not accessing the information that you left for yourself?
Yes. Yes. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it seems like the proaxis is something new, very, very new, that is not related with the person. And it's not like that. The proaxis is what we need to do in order to, to help people and things like that. And when we think about our past, it's very related to our proaxis, right?
It is,
So
because it can be connected with many different groups in different countries and things
yes,
like that. And then you start realizing, okay, so I must have been in some of these places before or something. How do I feel a connection with that? How,
yes,
why want to, in the middle of what I am doing now, how does this connect? So, yeah, these
yes. and
things.
and I think that in the intermissive course, we just did like this. We knew something about our past, and what I need to do in order to, build another bridge to these people and to this whole those things and things like that. And our approaches were it was being built with this kind of thought, you know, what I did, what I need to do in order to
get to where I want to be, you know, what
yes,
still,
to better
this
relations,
to better my
yes.
condition, to evolve and stuff.
Maybe
has a question.
Yeah. No, it's related to that. It's because sometimes we want to repair our past. Something we did mistakes in the past and now we are doing better. Sometimes you repeat something that you did well in the past, like Pedro and Emily Littre, that she was lexicographer, and now he write a lot of verbs.
Yeah.
And in other hand, there's some people that need to repair some mistakes. Maybe it's not something good in the past, but
they're both perspective, you know, the repairing and the continuing our
expand the work.
Yes, expand our work. Yes, I agree with you. But all of this is related to our history, to our past, and this actually our current life, it's a mirror of our past lives. We just only need to adjust our glasses, you know, our eyes.
Am I looking?
Yes.
Am I seeing? Am I seeing?
Am I seeing okay? Who is this person?
Yeah.
Where she came from? Things like that. So I think it's important to connect this life with the past one and the other one. It's all the same, but we need to try to understand how things can go on in a better way.
Okay, if you are happy with that, we are close to the end. We want to thank you very much for this excellent masterclass. It was really great. Yeah, that was really great. And we also want to invite everyone, if you have any questions that you want to send, and we didn't have time for it, but for sure Pedro will be happy to reply. And also, I would take just a couple more minutes just to remind you that we already have our next presentation in the Bridge Writers in February, on the 24th of February. We will have Cesar Cordioli, and I'm not going to tell you what he's going to talk about, not just yet, but soon.
Okay.
I promise.
Very good.
Okay. So thank you once again, Pedro. Does anyone has one last question, quick question, something? No? Everything okay? Okay, thank you to everyone also for coming and being here with us today.
Everybody.
That was really
Thanks
great.
a lot.
Thank you. See you in the next opportunity. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.